as the diesels approach. We were shocked to see Mavis and Daisy rounding the bend with a fuel tanker, van, and brake van. The ladders were filled with workmen and civilians from Farquhar. Mavis had a truck shield similar to Henry, and Daisy had wooden planks and boards covering her windows, and instead of the makeup which she typically donned on her face, was replaced with dirt and grim. The two diesels were shocked at what they had strolled in on, and Edward quickly explained everything to them. Mavis in turn explained how the quarry was attacked by several armed men. She managed to escape and found Daisy trapped in her shed due to some jammed points. Once fixed, they continued up the branch and stopped once they heard us. We were all glad to know they were alright. However, Thomas didn't say a word. He just stared at the remains of Toby. We quickly moved him away and into the sheds. We didn't want Thomas to do anything drastic. We're probably going to head back to Kildane to meet with Henry in a few hours, so I'll make an update then. Just before we were about to leave, we heard the sound of an all too familiar two-toned whistle, and there was Douglas rounding the bend. Before we could say hello, he frantically asked, "Where's Donnie?" Edward explained how we passed him on the 4th and haven't seen him since. Douglas grew sad but was determined to keep searching. Just then we heard the sound of slow, deep chuffing. We were horrified to see a concerned Oliver roll beside the Caledonian. Douglas explained how he found Oliver roaming around the island by himself. Edward yelled for Douglas to run, but it was too late. Oliver's face fell off, revealing his true colors. Douglas screamed at the sight and managed to get out of the way as Oliver lifted himself off the ground and attacked. Mavis acted fast and ran over one of the legs, causing the creature to stumble and fall into the yard. Mavis and Daisy yelled for people to get into the trucks. We managed to set off down the line away from Tidman's sheds just in time. We managed to find Douglas at Elsbridge and he was completely shell-shocked. He didn't say a word to any of us no matter how hard we tried. We then heard Oliver's whistle and knew he was on our tails, so we wasted no time and buffered up to Douglas and pushed him away from the creature he saved all those years ago. We've arrived back at Kildane and thankfully Henry is still here. Topham's busy interrogating one of the men Mavis's crew managed to capture at the quarry. While he's doing that, we've been working on a plan of action. Some of us just want to leave the island and save who we can, while others want to stay and finish Oliver. I'll make an update on our plan later. I think I hear Topham arguing with that man. It sounds like it's getting pretty heated, so I'm going to see what's going on. Well, that took an unexpected turn. As soon as I got up, Topham threw the man outside of the hut. The man laughed, saying, "It's no use, Fat Hat. We've already won." Topham grabbed the guy by the collar of his shirt and pulled him close. "Who did this?" Topham yelled. The man just stared at Topham and a grin overtook his face. "Peter Theodore Boomer, can't wait to see you in hell." He was then cut off by Topham, who shot him right between the eyes. His body fell to the ground and Topham wiped the blood off his face and coat. He then walked away back to the hut. The engines just looked at the body of the man. They had no idea Topham could be so ruthless. Alright, here's the plan. We're going to split up into two groups. The first half shall consist of Douglas, Mavis, and Daisy. This group shall head to Brandham as based on what Topham got from the man, Boko and Donald are being held captive there, while we and Henry shall head off to the ironworks to finish off Oliver, as Henry claimed it to be its nest. Finally, Thomas shall stay back as we don't want to risk him getting hurt. We'll enact this plan tomorrow, but as for now, we're going to get some sleep. I noticed Thomas crying quietly to Annie and Clarabelle. I moved Edward over to him and they began talking like father and son. Thomas was heartbroken at the fact he lost his two closest friends and didn't even get to say goodbye. Edward comforted the tank engine and promised that they would find Henrietta. "Edward, if I die, promise me you'll take care of Annie, Clarabelle, and Henrietta." Edward snapped back, saying he wouldn't let anyone near him, but Thomas persisted. Edward eventually gave in and promised. After that, we said our goodnights and went off to bed. I'm still worried about tomorrow and whether or not I'll make it to see my wife again. Alright, we're ready. We've got the cavalcade set up and everyone ready to go. Douglas was all riled up. He wants to save his twin. We quickly said our goodbyes to Thomas and the few who decided to stay behind and set off. As we diverted off the main line and onto the Peel Godred, Henry and Edward let off several farewell whistles to the Brandham group. They replied and soon disappeared in